3 days later, I got a frantic message from Tasha on WhatsApp.
What the hell, Alex? The credit card isn't working. We're stuck in this dump and the hotel's threatening to kick us out.
Didn't you tag me in that Paris post? Didn't you say I paid for the trip? Looks like you used the wrong card, sis.
We were gonna pay you back.
No, you weren't. Blocked. Then came Dad. Alex, this is your father. You're being childish. We're in a foreign country. You think I forgot all those times you called me a leech? Time to learn how it feels. Blocked. Mom didn't call, probably too ashamed or too prideful, but I watched it all unfold. The selfies stopped. Tasha posted a blurry photo of some rundown motel with the caption, "WTF is this place?" They begged online for urgent help, but nobody donated. They had to get jobs. In France, Dad washed dishes in a dingy restaurant. Mom swept a bakery at 6 a.m. Tasha braided tourists' hair in the street for tips. Then, the cherry on top. They missed their rebooked flight, thanks to a train delay they couldn't afford to bypass, and got rerouted on a nightmare standby route through Turkey. But something went wrong. Really wrong. They always treated me like I was just visiting, like I didn't belong, like I was the unwanted draft that kept sneaking in through the door they never fully closed. I'm Alex, 23 years old, quiet, polite, average paying IT job. The invisible child in a family that never once called me son, with love in their voice. I spent my entire childhood watching them shine a spotlight on Tasha, while I stood in the dark, clapping for her, unnoticed. Tasha was the golden one, the precious daughter, the miracle. While I got hand-me-downs from cousins, she got designer shoes on her 7th birthday. I asked for a bike once, just a plain one from Walmart. Mom told me we couldn't afford it. That same week, Tasha got a pink glitter-covered iPad because she did so well on her spelling test. Dad took her out for daddy-daughter dinners at fancy restaurants. My birthdays? Usually forgotten. Once, they gave me a Happy Meal toy and said it was just symbolic. She got to go to dance camp. I got to mow the lawn. If she made a mistake, it was brushed off. She's just a kid. But when I spilled juice at 12, I got grounded for a week and called ungrateful. By the time I was 17, they had forced me to take on 2 jobs. I started saving every penny I could, and even then, I was expected to contribute to the household expenses. By the time I turned 18, they couldn't wait to push me out. They wanted the room for Tasha's walk-in closet. I slept in my car for a week before I found someone on Craigslist looking for a roommate, and still, I never cut them off. I don't know why. Some pathetic hope that maybe, someday, they'd love me back. Last month, I found out just how deep their entitlement went. It was a Monday. I logged into my bank app to check if my paycheck cleared, and froze. $3,194 missing. I called the bank. The transactions appear to be authorized, sir. International charges, airline tickets, hotels, restaurants. Then I saw the photos. On Instagram, on Facebook, on Tasha's TikTok. They were in Paris. Mom, Dad, and Tasha sipping cocktails on a rooftop bar. Captioned, "Family vacation. Deserve this thanks to our son." My name tagged. They didn't ask, didn't call, didn't even leave me a damn voicemail. They just took my card and ran. I sat on my couch, breathing heavily, staring at their grinning faces. And I laughed. Not the kind of laugh that says you're okay. The kind that says you've been pushed too far, and now you're about to do something wicked. I called the bank. I need to cancel and report all my cards stolen. Everyone, right now. Yes, sir. We'll lock everything immediately. Then I filed a fraud report and contacted the airlines. I gave them all the information I had. When I found out they had a return flight from Charles de Gaulle on the 14th, I told the airline those were fraudulent charges too. I got them canceled. I didn't just want my money back. I wanted them stranded. Before I did it, before I made the call to cancel the cards, I hesitated. Not because I doubted what they did. No. That part was crystal clear. But because for a second, I saw my own reflection in the darkened screen of my phone and thought, am I becoming them? Petty, cold, vengeful. Then I remembered. I was 10. I had just won first place in the regional spelling bee. I came home clutching that shiny medal like it was the world's approval in medal form. I ran inside, grinning, hoping someone would say they were proud. But Tasha had spilled grape juice on her stupid white dress that day.
Do you think this is the time to brag?
Go help your sister clean up. She's upset. He took the medal off me and dropped it on the kitchen counter like it was trash. No one even asked what word I won on. That night, I sat in the bathroom, lights off, holding that medal in my hands like it was evidence of a crime. No, I wasn't like them. I had every right to light the match. But then, just when I thought they couldn't sink lower, the bank called again. Sir, your family is claiming you gave them permission for the charges. They've submitted screenshots, text messages from someone with your number. Fake texts, from a spoofed number. They tried to frame me for their theft. I almost laughed. They could post their Eiffel Tower selfies all they wanted, but they just declared war. And I've been preparing for this moment my entire life. 3 days later, I got a frantic message from Tasha on WhatsApp.
What the hell, Alex? The credit card isn't working. We're stuck in this dump and the hotel's threatening to kick us out.
Didn't you tag me in that Paris post? Didn't you say I paid for the trip? Looks like you used the wrong card, sis.
We were gonna pay you back.
No, you weren't. Blocked. Then came Dad. Alex, this is your father. You're being childish. We're in a foreign country. You think I forgot all those times you called me a leech? Time to learn how it feels. Blocked. Mom didn't call, probably too ashamed or too prideful, but I watched it all unfold. The selfies stopped. Tasha posted a blurry photo of some rundown motel with the caption, "WTF is this place?" They begged online for urgent help, but nobody donated. They had to get jobs. In France, Dad washed dishes in a dingy restaurant. Mom swept a bakery at 6 a.m. Tasha braided tourists' hair in the street for tips. Then, the cherry on top. They missed their rebooked flight, thanks to a train delay they couldn't afford to bypass, and got rerouted on a nightmare standby route through Turkey. But something went wrong. Really wrong. Some visa or document issue. I never found out the full story. All I know is they were held up and ended up in Afghanistan. That was the part I didn't plan. Apparently, some cheap airline rerouted them due to overbookings, and the only available outbound flight at the lowest cost landed in Kabul before connecting elsewhere. They got stuck there. For a week. American citizens. In Afghanistan. They had no working phones, no money, no embassy access for days. They slept on airport floors, bathed in airport sinks. They traded jewelry for food. And for 6 horrifying hours in the middle of that nightmare, they disappeared. Tasha later posted a shaky, whispered TikTok recounting it.
We were taken by a group of men outside the terminal, said they were security, blindfolded us, put us in the back of a van. They thought we were CIA or something. Spies!
They were interrogated, tied to chairs in a dim room, lights shining in their faces, demanded to confess they were agents. Dad begged. Mom cried hysterically. Tasha wet herself. They were released hours later, dirty and shaken, after their captors realized they were just broke, clueless tourists. Eventually, they scraped together enough to get back to the US through multiple reroutes, 6 different flights, sleeping in terminals, eating scraps. And when they got home, everything had fallen apart. The car was towed. They had unpaid airport parking fees. Their electricity had been cut off. Their jobs had already replaced them. Human resources had seen the fraud reports. No explanations accepted. They came to my door, ragged, gaunt, sunburnt, defeated.
Please, Alex, we made a mistake.
You've made your point. We're back now.
We lost everything.
I opened the door, looked them over. Mom in wrinkled clothes. Dad looking 20 years older. Tasha's nails chipped and broken. There's a cleaning company 2 blocks away hiring minimum wage. You said that was beneath you, right? They didn't answer. Funny, you never thought of me once. Now you need me? I closed the door. Now, they clean houses. Rich people's houses. I found out from a former coworker that they scrub toilets and mop marble floors while being barked at by the kind of people they used to pretend they were. They still haven't paid me back. But I don't want the money anymore. I already got what I needed. People say, don't get even, move on. But I say this. Sometimes, when someone burns you over and over, it's not healing you need, it's fire. So I lit the match and watched them burn. Thanks for watching. Accident? Funny how you white folks always have accidents when it comes to respecting black men. You intentionally stepped on me.
Honestly, for a second, I thought I'd misheard him. What did being white have to do with me accidentally stepping on him? I wanted to argue or just say something, but he started talking again.
You think you're better than everyone else? Walking around here like you belong? Like you aren't just another junkie hiding in the midst of decent people?
Junkie? What the hell was he talking about? Where did that come from? I don't do drugs, I live here, I work here, I have friends here. I do not appreciate you comparing me to a junkie. I'm a responsible lady.
Prove it. Let's see you try to prove your responsibility. I'd like to search your bag and house. I have a strong feeling that you're hoarding drugs.
Before I could say a word, he yanked my bag, searched it, and emptied it onto the floor. Then he ordered me to pick everything up and loudly apologize while on my knees. If you'd asked me 2 months back if I was scared about the cops in this area, I'd have said I wasn't. I had lived in this neighborhood for years. I wasn't blind to the stories and the quiet warnings about how some cops treated people around here. I had seen the way they looked at the people in the white community, how they spoke to them, how they wielded their power like a hammer, ready to strike at the first sign of resistance. But I never thought I'd be on the receiving end of it. Not until that day. It was just supposed to be a quick trip to the mall. Grab a few groceries, maybe stop by the bookstore if I had time. I wasn't in a rush, just strolling, minding my business, thinking about what I'd make for dinner that night. And then, accidentally, I stepped on someone. But unfortunately, it wasn't just anyone. It was a freaking cop. The moment my foot barely brushed his boot, I felt a jolt of dread spike through my chest. I started to apologize immediately, but before I could even get the words out, his hand clamped around my wrist like I was a criminal.
You've got some nerve stepping on a uniformed man.
I froze in fear. His grip was tight, uncomfortably so. He was truly in his uniform, but it wasn't the uniform that scared me. It was his eyes, his cold, sharp, and sucked eyes, making me feel so scared. At that moment, I wished to just escape from him. I'm so sorry, sir. I wasn't looking where I was going. I would never repeat it.
Sorry doesn't cut it, girl. You stepped on a cop and that's a crime.
People were watching as he roughly pulled me closer. I could feel their eyes on us, some stopping mid-step, others glancing from the corners of their eyes before quickly looking away. But no one said anything. No one stepped in. They never did, so it wasn't new. I just expected some humanity that didn't exist. It was an accident, I swear. I sincerely apologize. It will never repeat itself.
Accident? Funny how you white folks always have accidents when it comes to respecting black men. You intentionally stepped on me.
Honestly, for a second, I thought I'd misheard him. What did being white have to do with me accidentally stepping on him? I wanted to argue or just say something, but he started talking again.
You think you're better than everyone else? Walking around here like you belong? Like you aren't just another junkie hiding in the midst of decent people?
Junkie? What the hell was he talking about? Where did that come from? I don't do drugs, I live here, I work here, I have friends here. I do not appreciate you comparing me to a junkie. I'm a responsible lady.
Prove it. Let's see you try to prove your responsibility. I'd like to search your bag and house. I have a strong feeling that you're hoarding drugs.
Before I could say a word, he yanked my bag, searched it, and emptied it onto the floor. Then he ordered me to pick everything up and loudly apologize while on my knees. You have no right to do that. Do you even have a warrant? Why would you call me a drug addict when we're just meeting for the first time today? And accidentally, for that matter.
Listen to me, young woman. You better show me your place, or I'm going to take you to the station and give you a reason to be in jail.
I felt so afraid. It wasn't normal and it wasn't right. I knew I should have pushed more and stood my ground, but that was impossible. The way he was looking at me was as if he was waiting for me to push back, like he was waiting for an excuse to have something strong against me. I knew better than to argue, so I agreed to show him my place. He pushed me into his car. I'd hoped it would just be to see the building and leave, but he had other plans. When we finally reached the building, he demanded to follow me into my apartment. I didn't want to, but because I was still trying to evade trouble, I allowed him in. Once he entered, he started looking and moving around. He went to my bookshelves, my small kitchen, my bedroom, everywhere. He walked through my living room like he owned the place. I kept quiet, watching him do everything he wanted. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he stopped.
No drugs, huh? That's strange. Y'all white kids are nothing but junkies.
I don't think you should associate that with my race. I know quite a lot of black junkies too.
I will ignore you only because you're clean. Kindly mind yourself from now, else I won't hesitate to arrest you next time.
I didn't say anything until he finally left my house. That was only when I felt relieved. I thought it had ended. Unfortunately, it hadn't. He turned out to be a creep. When it started, I brushed it off as being just paranoia. But it didn't go away. Every time I stepped outside, every time I walked to work, every time I unlocked my apartment door, the feeling of being watched overwhelmed me. When I left for work in the morning, there were footsteps behind me. If I looked back, I wouldn't find anyone. Inside my own apartment, I felt it the most. While I cooked dinner, I would feel someone's eyes on me. But if I checked, there'd be no one there. When I took a shower, I would feel someone watching me. I could hear movements sometimes. It was so scary, but I couldn't tell my friends because I didn't have anything to confirm. I didn't want to be told that I was hallucinating because I knew I wasn't. At night, while in my bedroom, I swore I could hear something. I kept trying to tell myself I was overreacting, but I knew I wasn't. I just needed a confirmation that I wasn't imagining things. One night, I received my confirmation. I was in my living room having dinner when my door was pushed open and the least person I expected to see walked in. It was the cop from last time. The same one who had accused me of being a junkie and searched my apartment without a warrant. Only now, he wasn't wearing his uniform. He reeked of alcohol as he staggered into my apartment like he had every right to be there. I was so scared. "What the hell? Why are you in my house? Get out!" He didn't listen. He started walking even closer to me.
I've been watching you, you know?
"You need to leave. Now, get out of my house."
Why would I leave when I finally have you all to myself? I don't have to sneak around.
I grabbed my fork out of fear. "You come one step closer, and I swear to God, I will stab you." I brandished the fork like a weapon. I could see that he was scared. Eventually, when he saw that I was going to do it, he backed off, but he promised to be back. I was awake throughout the night. The next morning, I ran to the police station as fast as my legs could carry me. But I met the shock of my life when I saw the same cop there. I didn't know that was the station he worked at.
Well, look who it is. The white junkie came to pay me a visit.
I thought the other black officers would stop him, but they didn't seem to be on my side. Of course, they would be with him.
Man, you really got this one rattled, huh? Have you seen her naked yet? I doubt you haven't.
They laughed. I was so close to crying. "You shouldn't be doing this. He broke into my apartment. He's been stalking me, and I'm shocked that you all know about it yet did nothing."
Whoa, calm down, sweetheart. You should be lucky to have him stalking you. We have enough black women, but he chose you.
They laughed again, and all I wanted was to see them get punished.
You should go home, miss. You don't want to make false accusations against a good cop like him. No one will listen to you.
He's not a good cop. None of you are.
Now, that's a heavy accusation. And without proof? I don't know. Sounds like someone's just looking for attention.
They laughed again. I burst out crying as I ran away from there. I heard the cop promising to see me tonight, but I didn't stop. Once I got home, I called one of my favorite friends. Devon was a black man, but he was a good person. I'd known him for so long, and I knew he believed in people getting justice. When he arrived, I told him everything, from the very beginning at the mall. I'd never seen Devon look so angry.
How dare him? That's so unprofessional. It's his job to protect you, not harass you. That's a very punishable offense, and he won't be escaping it. I'm calling my uncle.
Devon's uncle was the chief of police. The man was also a good man. I'd heard about different people getting justice through his help. While the phone rang, I prayed for the man to ask help me. He was the only one who could punish those bastards. When the man answered the call, Devon explained the situation. I was so happy when his uncle wanted to send officers immediately, but Devon stopped him.
Not yet. He needs to learn something first. I will teach him a lesson.
I asked Devon what the lesson was, and he told me his plan. I was sure that the cop would definitely come by because he said it back at the station. We got everything ready for our plan, just in case he came. Devon stayed the night. We waited. Deep down, I was really hoping he would come. I needed to deal with the issue and end it all. Fortunately, around midnight, the door was forced open again.
Well, you don't have a fork this time. I'll see what will save you.
He didn't see Devon at first, but when he did, it was too late. Devon lunged at him, punching him in the face and knocking him to the floor. The cop cried out in pain. He tried to fight back, but I grabbed a baseball bat and smashed it over his shoulder. As Devon pummeled his face with punches, I struck him mercilessly. When we were done, we forced him to sit up and tied his hands behind his back. Devon then grabbed his phone and called his uncle. Minutes later, sirens filled the air. Officers burst in, dragging the cop up. His lip was split, his face swollen. We didn't end it there. We took him to his station and I pointed at the other cops who mocked me. They were all arrested. The next day, his arrest was everywhere. News channels, papers, social media. At trial, the evidence was clear. The scratches on my door, Devon serving as a witness, the footage from the station where they mocked me. Devon's uncle made sure every detail was exposed. The cop got 5 years for stalking, harassment, and abuse of power. His accomplices got 3 for covering up his actions. Their badges were stripped. Their names were blacklisted. They weren't just fired. They were humiliated. I watched them without pity as they were led away in cuffs. Justice was served, but I still moved away 2 months later because I was traumatized. A few months later, while I was in a different state, Devon called me with some news. Rumors were circulating about what had happened to the cop in prison. From the moment he arrived, the whispers began.
That's the cop from the news. 5 years ain't long enough for what he did. We're gonna make sure he pays every day.
At first, he tried to act tough, walking with the same arrogance he once had in uniform. But behind those prison walls, there was no badge to protect him, only enemies. The inmates knew what he had done to countless white women. Some of them had even been locked up because of him. His nights were the worst. Sleep became impossible. Every creak, every whisper sent his heart racing. Someone scratched at his cell door at random hours, whispering his name just to mess with him. His nerves were shot, his body always tense, waiting for the next attack. Then came the messages. A note left on his bunk read, "Dead men don't need to eat." A carving on the wall said, "Payback's a bitch, ain't it?" One night, he woke up to find his mattress slashed. His clothes were stolen, forcing him to beg for spares. His food tray was knocked out of his hands at every meal, and if he dared to complain, it only got worse. Then came the beatings. One afternoon, he was cornered in the showers. A group of inmates blocked the exit, cracking their knuckles.
You like throwing your weight around, cop? Let's see how tough you are without a gun.
Blows rained down before he could even fight back. Fists, knees, elbows. By the time they were done, he was curled up on the cold tile, gasping for air, blood mixing with the water. The final blow came when an inmate set him up, falsely claiming that the cop had attacked and tried to kill him. As a result, his sentence was extended by 6 more years. Serves him right. Thanks for watching. And we thought Mom was just trying to comfort her. But as the years passed, it became clear that this wasn't just a phase. By the time Emma was 6, she had the entire household wrapped around her little finger. If she wanted a new dress, she got it. If she wanted to skip school for the day, my mother would let her. Meanwhile, Angela and I were expected to keep up our grades, help with chores, and, as my mother often said, set a good example for your little sister. Emma was also trying to control us. It started with little things. One time, Angela and I were playing with an old teddy bear in the living room when Emma came in and demanded to play with it.
I want the teddy bear. Give it to me now.
I told her she could join us, but she didn't want to share. Instead, she screamed and stomped her feet until my mother rushed in.
What's going on here?
They won't let me play with the teddy bear.
Angela tried to explain that we were already playing with it, but my mother didn't want to hear it.
Just let her have it. You two are older, you should know better.
We reluctantly handed the teddy bear over, watching as Emma smirked and stuck out her tongue at us. Our father's death changed everything. I was 10 at the time, my sister Angela was 8, and little sister Emma was just 4. Life before that had been perfect, or at least it felt that way. My father was a wealthy businessman, and though he was often busy, he always made time for us. He would bring home toys from his travels, take us out for fancy dinners, and make us feel like princesses. We were a happy family. But when he passed away, it felt like the light went out of our house. My mother was devastated. She threw herself into managing the family business, saying it was the only way to keep his legacy alive. And while Angela and I grieved quietly, Emma became the center of her world. At first, it made sense. Emma was so young when Dad died, barely old enough to understand what was happening. She cried the loudest at his funeral and clung to our mother like her life depended on it. My mother, perhaps out of guilt or desperation, focused all her energy on Emma. She held her close, bought her the best toys, and let her sleep in her bed at night. Angela and I didn't think much of it back then. After all, Emma was the baby of the family, and we thought Mom was just trying to comfort her. But as the years passed, it became clear that this wasn't just a phase. By the time Emma was 6, she had the entire household wrapped around her little finger. If she wanted a new dress, she got it. If she wanted to skip school for the day, my mother would let her. Meanwhile, Angela and I were expected to keep up our grades, help with chores, and, as my mother often said, set a good example for your little sister. Emma was also trying to control us. It started with little things. One time, Angela and I were playing with an old teddy bear in the living room when Emma came in and demanded to play with it.
I want the teddy bear. Give it to me now.
I told her she could join us, but she didn't want to share. Instead, she screamed and stomped her feet until my mother rushed in.
What's going on here?
They won't let me play with the teddy bear.
Angela tried to explain that we were already playing with it, but my mother didn't want to hear it.
Just let her have it. You two are older, you should know better.
We reluctantly handed the teddy bear over, watching as Emma smirked and stuck out her tongue at us. By the time Emma was 8, the favoritism had become undeniable. She had a room filled with expensive toys and gadgets, while Angela and I had to share old ones. If we ever complained, my mother would dismiss us.
Emma's younger, she needs more attention. Quit being childish.
It wasn't just about the material things. It was the way our mother treated her, the way she spoke to her with warmth and affection while being stern and demanding with us. If Emma made a mess, it was cute. If Angela or I made a mistake, it was a lecture about responsibility and gratitude. The disparity became even more glaring during family trips. On Emma's 10th birthday, my mother organized a lavish party, while Angela and I simply received casual wishes from her. One evening, Angela and I were sitting in our room, talking about the unfairness of it all.
I don't get it. Why does she love Emma more?
Do you think we should ask her? Maybe she can't see what we see. Angela didn't agree. She was so sad.
Sometimes I feel like we don't even exist to her.
I didn't know how to respond to that because deep down I felt the same way. Emma, meanwhile, seemed to revel in the attention. She became more demanding, more spoiled, and, worst of all, more manipulative. She quickly learned that she could do no wrong in our mother's eyes, and she used it to her advantage. Once, Angela caught Emma sneaking into her room and taking her favorite bracelet, a gift from our father. When Angela confronted her, Emma denied it.
I know you took it, Emma. Give it back.
I didn't take anything. You're just jealous because Mom likes me better.
I don't care. Give me back the necklace now.
I won't. What are you gonna do about it?
Angela and Emma ended up screaming at each other until my mother came in.
What's all this noise about?
Angela's yelling at me for no reason.
No, I'm not. Mom, she took my bracelet. The one Dad gave me.
Emma wouldn't do that. Stop blaming her for your carelessness, Angela.
Angela stormed out of the room in tears. I also cried to sleep because it was unfair. The favoritism didn't just hurt us emotionally, it began to affect our relationship with Emma. She became someone we couldn't trust, someone who would lie, steal, and manipulate to get her way. And the worst part was that she always got away with it. By the time we were teenagers, Angela and I had grown resentful. Not just of Emma, but of our mother as well. It was clear that no matter what we did, we would never measure up to Emma in her eyes. We stopped trying to seek her approval and started relying on each other for support. One night, after yet another argument with our mother over something Emma had lied about, Angela looked at me with so much determination in her eyes.
We have to do something. This has gone on long enough. We can't let it continue.
What can we do? She always believes Emma.
Then we'll make her see the truth.
Angela and I weren't used to scheming, but we were desperate. We couldn't take Emma's manipulation and lies anymore. Our first plan was simple. We only wanted to catch her red-handed. Emma had a habit of sneaking into our rooms and taking things without asking, so we decided to bait her. Angela placed her favorite necklace, which was another gift from our father, on her desk and left the drawer slightly ajar. I set up my phone across the room, hidden behind some books, to record the moment Emma walked in. Angela and I waited outside, pretending to be busy in the living room. It didn't take long. Emma, thinking we were distracted, slipped into Angela's room. Then she emerged a few minutes later, holding the necklace. We were ecstatic. Finally, we had proof. Or so we thought. When our mom returned home that night, we played the video for her, thinking it would finally open her eyes. But Emma was clever. Too clever. She burst into tears the moment the footage ended.
Then I was just putting it back. Angela told me I could borrow it, but then she got mad and set me up.
Angela's jaw dropped in shock.
That's not true. She's lying. Mom, don't believe her.
But Emma's performance was flawless. She sobbed uncontrollably, clutching the necklace as if it was her lifeline. My mother, who always had a soft spot for Emma's tears, turned on us immediately.
How could you two do something so cruel? Setting up your little sister like that? You should be ashamed.
We were grounded for a week, forbidden from using our phones or leaving the house. Emma, meanwhile, walked away with the necklace and a triumphant smirk. If we thought her behavior was bad before, it became unbearable after that. Emma seemed to thrive on our frustration. She started lying about us at school, telling teachers that Angela and I were bullying her. We were called into the principal's office multiple times, forced to defend ourselves against accusations that Emma made up. At home, she continued her games, planting stolen items in our rooms and claiming we took them from her. The worst part was watching our mother continue to believe her. Angela and I felt powerless, like we were losing a battle we never asked to fight. At some point, we both resigned to our fates and started growing numb to her antics, believing she would never change. But fate had other plans. One day, we heard a knock, and when I checked, I saw our neighbor holding Emma's arm. The woman looked furious. I quickly called my mom.
I caught your daughter trying to steal money from my house. She broke into our home and was attempting to break into the safe but got electrocuted. She had no idea the safe was electrified, so she got shocked and passed out. You're lucky I found her when I did. Keep your thief out of my sight, okay?
Emma's face was pale, her left hand swollen and bandaged. Our mother quickly apologized to the woman.
I'm so sorry. I'll handle this immediately.
She rushed Emma to the hospital where the doctors confirmed minor nerve damage to her hand. She had to be admitted for treatment. When Emma returned to school 3 weeks later, her reputation was already in tatters. Those at school knew the reason she missed all those weeks, and mocked her for it. Even worse, missing exams meant she had to take them alone. She struggled, and when the results came back, she failed most of them. Emma's pride couldn't handle it. 2 weeks after her return, disaster struck again. Late one night, the school security guards caught her in the principal's office. She had been trying to hack into the system to change her grades. The guards dragged her to their quarters, where they held her overnight. The next morning, my mother was summoned to the school. Angela and I tagged along.
Your daughter has crossed every line. First theft, now breaking into school property to falsify grades. She's a disgrace, and I won't tolerate this behavior. She can continue attending school until this week is over. Then she will resume her punishment, which is a 2-week suspension.
The principal's words were brutal, and our mother's face burned with shame. Emma stood there with head bowed. For once, she had no excuse. When we got home, our mother finally snapped.
Go to your room, Emma. I'm going to teach you a lesson you'll never forget. How can you disgrace me like this after all I've done for you?
Emma didn't want to leave. So our mom grabbed a cane and began marching toward her. That's when Angela and I stepped in.
Stop, Mom! You can't do this!
Why not? Look at what she's become.
Well, she's your creation. This is what happens when you spoil someone rotten and let them get away with everything.
You gave her everything she wanted while ignoring us. Now her life is spiraling, and it's your fault. If you don't stop, it'll only get worse.
Our mother seemed to be overwhelmed. I watched as she sank into the couch and buried her face in her palms.
I thought I was helping her. After your father died, I just wanted to protect her. She was so young. I didn't want her to feel unloved.
And what about us? We lost Dad too, but you forgot we existed.
For the first time, our mother seemed to understand the damage she'd done.
I'm so sorry, girls. I've failed you all. Emma, I've done you no favors by spoiling you. It's time for things to change. You owe your sisters and everyone else an apology.
Emma looked at us with so much guilt on her face.
I'm sorry for how I've wronged you both. Please, forgive me.
No, we didn't forgive her immediately, but at least we received an apology. The next day, at the order of the principal, Emma stood in front of the entire school and confessed to her crime. She admitted everything and apologized. The humiliation was heavy, but the principal didn't care. At home, our mother started setting boundaries for Emma. No more special treatment, no more excuses. For the first time in years, she treated all three of us equally. Emma's attitude changed gradually. She started helping around the house and actually listening to us. Angela and I were wary at first, but over time, we began to believe in her sincerity. For the first time, our family felt like a team, and I couldn't have been more grateful to the universe for intervening. Thanks for watching.
He was special simply because my parents decided he was. The golden child, their firstborn, the son who mattered. When Edwin scored the winning touchdown at his high school football game, my parents threw him a party that cost more than they'd spent on all my birthdays combined. I was 14 then, and I spent the night serving drinks to Edwin's friends while my brother held court in our living room, basking in adoration. That's what a real man looks like. My father whispered to me as he watched Edwin surrounded by cheerleaders. You could learn something from your brother if you'd stop being so sensitive. Why would I want to learn how to be a jerk? Oh, stop being so jealous. No one likes a whiny boy who is jealous of his brother. Can't you ever not be so negative? I didn't want to be like Edwin. I wanted to be seen for who I was. But in our household, there was only room for one son. At least as far as my parents were concerned. One of the worst episodes, though, was when I came down with strep throat. I had a really terrible fever. It was so bad that I began to have hallucinations. I begged my parents to take me to the hospital, but they were too concerned about keeping me away from Edwin so that he wouldn't get sick, and so they went on vacation and only returned once I had fully recovered. Growing up in the shadow of my brother Edwin was like living life permanently eclipsed. My name is Freddie, and for as long as I can remember, I was the forgotten son. It always felt like I was playing second fiddle to him. On my 7th birthday, my parents forgot to buy me a cake because they were busy preparing for Edwin's baseball game the following weekend. When I brought home straight A's in the 4th grade, my father grunted without looking up from Edwin's B- essay that he was helping improve. My mother didn't even acknowledge my report card. Whenever I would complain how things weren't fair and that he got more attention than I did, they would always say the same thing. It's not fair. You guys never pay attention to me. It's like you don't even love me.
Oh, stop whining, Freddie. No one wants to hear that. It's just that Edwin needs extra attention. He's special. You would understand if you knew better.
Yeah, Freddie. It's the way it is. You don't really need that much attention. It's not like you are going to be doing much with your life. Special. That word haunted my childhood. Edwin wasn't special because he was more intelligent or talented. He was special simply because my parents decided he was. The golden child, their firstborn, the son who mattered. When Edwin scored the winning touchdown at his high school football game, my parents threw him a party that cost more than they'd spent on all my birthdays combined. I was 14 then, and I spent the night serving drinks to Edwin's friends while my brother held court in our living room, basking in adoration. That's what a real man looks like. My father whispered to me as he watched Edwin surrounded by cheerleaders. You could learn something from your brother if you'd stop being so sensitive. Why would I want to learn how to be a jerk? Oh, stop being so jealous. No one likes a whiny boy who is jealous of his brother. Can't you ever not be so negative? I didn't want to be like Edwin. I wanted to be seen for who I was. But in our household, there was only room for one son. At least as far as my parents were concerned. One of the worst episodes, though, was when I came down with strep throat. I had a really terrible fever. It was so bad that I began to have hallucinations. I begged my parents to take me to the hospital, but they were too concerned about keeping me away from Edwin so that he wouldn't get sick, and so they went on vacation and only returned once I had fully recovered. I'm amazed that I didn't pass away. But the breaking point didn't come until high school ends. The night I graduated high school with honors, Edwin crashed his car after drinking at a party. I stood alone on the stage, scanning the audience for familiar faces that weren't there. My parents had rushed to the hospital to be with Edwin, who had a minor concussion and a scratch on his forehead. They didn't even call to tell me they weren't coming. When I arrived home still wearing my graduation gown, my mother was crying in the kitchen. Where were you guys? You missed my entire graduation.
Your brother could have died, and all you care about is some silly ceremony.
It's not some silly ceremony. I graduated high school. It's kind of a big deal. We had far more important things to be concerned with, Freddie. We simply do not care about some dumb ceremony. It's not like you got an award or anything. I did graduate with honors.
That's nice, dear.
They didn't care. I knew they wouldn't, but it still hurt. That was the moment I decided I was done. I packed my bags that night and left before dawn. I didn't leave a note. I wanted to see how long it would take them to notice I was gone. 3 weeks later, my roommate at the small apartment I'd rented answered a call from my mother.
Is Freddie there? Edwin's birthday dinner is tonight, and I need him to pick up the cake.
Not, where have you been? Or, we've been worried sick? Just an errand for Edwin's birthday. My roommate told her I'd moved out weeks ago. She hung up without asking where I'd gone. I thanked him for covering for me. I put myself through design school by working 3 jobs. I slept 4 hours a night and survived on ramen and ambition. By my second year, I designed a line of affordable, stylish menswear that caught the attention of a small manufacturer. That first round of exposure blew up, and the amount of sales that those designs made allowed me to be able to quit all my part-time jobs. By graduation, I had made enough money that I was able to buy my first factory and a modest but growing brand. 10 years passed without a word from my family. In that time, I built Frederick Apparel into an empire. My clothes were known for their quality, style, and ethical manufacturing practices. I owned 17 factories across Asia and South America, employed thousands, and was featured in every major fashion magazine. My face was on billboards in Times Square and Shibuya Crossing. And then, predictably, they found me. The call came through my assistant.
There are people on the phone that claim to be your parents. They are insisting on speaking with you.
You've got to be kidding me. Put them through.
Freddie, is that you? We saw you in a magazine. Why didn't you tell us you'd become famous?
No hello. No apology. No acknowledgement of 10 years of silence. What do you want?
That's no way to speak to your mother. We raised you better than that.
You didn't raise me at all. I was practically self-raised. There was a pause, and then my mother's voice softened into the tone she used when she wanted something.
We're so proud of you, Freddie. We always knew you had potential.
Cut the crap. What do you want? Edwin needs help. Of course. It always came back to Edwin. Apparently, my brother had bounced from job to job for years. He'd tried acting, sales, and most recently, motivational speaking. All failures. Now, upon seeing my success in fashion, Edwin had decided that he, too, had always had a passion for clothing design.
He has such vision. He just needs an opportunity.
And financial backing. And your connections, of course. I should have hung up. I should have blocked their numbers and gone back to my life. But something dark and long suppressed stirred inside me. You know, I'm actually expanding the business, opening a new factory.
That's wonderful.
I could use someone like Edwin, someone with vision. My parents were ecstatic. When I suggested a meeting, they insisted that Edwin join. And so, a week later, I found myself sitting across from the family that had forgotten me, watching them salivate over the opportunity I dangled before them. Edwin had grown pudgy and balding, but his smile still carried that entitled confidence I remembered. "So, little brother, finally realized you need some real talent in your company?" Something like that. I laid out my proposition. I told them that I was opening an exclusive new factory in North Korea. It was unprecedented. An American fashion company operating in the reclusive kingdom. The potential for profit was enormous, but it required extreme discretion. Why North Korea? Labor costs, tax advantages, and exclusivity. No other Western fashion brand has access. Plus, I've convinced them that it would do wonders for American and North Korean relations. And you want me to run it? I want you to be the face of it. The Frederick brand in Asia, starting with our most exclusive operation.
It sounds dangerous.
It requires connections, I'll admit. But I've been negotiating with a high-ranking official there, General Park Min-ho. He's arranging everything. In reality, General Park had been publicly executed for treason 3 months earlier. I knew this because I'd researched it meticulously. Not many people would know that, though, but I had used some of my connections to learn of this, as it made my plan possible. I'll need you to go first. Meet with General Park. Establish the relationship. I'll follow with the technical team once you've secured his trust. Why can't you go first? Because General Park specifically requested to meet the founder's family before proceeding. It's a cultural thing. They value family enterprises. If you're not comfortable with it, I understand. I can find another opportunity for Edwin. No, I want this, we'll go. My parents nodded in agreement, their eyes gleaming with the prospect of Edwin's success and the wealth that would follow. I spent the next month preparing them. I created fake documents, arranged their flights, and coached them on what to say when they arrived. I told them to immediately ask for General Park Min-ho, as they were very good friends with him, and to mention they were there for the Dragon Pearl Project, a name I invented that sounded suitably clandestine. I told them that they needed to say that they had been working with him for a long time. Remember, North Korea is extremely sensitive about security. Stick to the script exactly. The day they left, I drove them to the airport. My mother hugged me for the first time in decades.
I always knew you'd take care of your brother. Deep down, you've always looked up to him and knew that he was special.
I smiled and waved as they passed through security, carrying their one-way tickets to Pyongyang. 3 days later, I received confirmation that they had been arrested upon arrival. Demanding to meet with a disgraced, executed general while mentioning a non-existent secret project had exactly the effect I anticipated. They were detained as spies. While the trial was ongoing, I heard rumors from a friend who lives in South Korea that my family was helping the regime by appearing in propaganda videos on social media, in English. I also heard that my brother was being trained as a traffic controller, in case he's ever allowed to live freely again. I did feel guilt, a brief, sharp pang when I imagined their confusion and fear. But then I remembered my graduation night, standing alone on that stage. I remembered every birthday forgotten, every achievement ignored. Every day I was made to feel worthless while Edwin was treated like royalty. 6 months later, after various diplomatic channels confirmed what I already knew, that they had been tried as spies and executed, I opened a champagne bottle in my penthouse overlooking Central Park. I toasted the empty room, watching the city lights twinkle below. I sometimes wonder if I'm a monster for what I did. Perhaps. But my parents and Edwin taught me an important lesson growing up. Some people matter, and some don't. They just never imagined they'd end up on the wrong side of that equation. My newest fashion line launched last week. The critics are calling it my best work yet. Hauntingly beautiful, one reviewer wrote. If only they knew how apt that description truly was. The guilt fades a little more each day. After all, they made my life a living hell. And now, I use their greed to help speed their way towards being sent to actual hell. Funny how things work out. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. After that, my life continued spiraling. We were soon done with college, and my dad got me a car as a gift. Of course, Johnson received nothing. but he still didn't mind. Johnson immediately began applying for jobs. When he finally got one, my parents stopped feeding him. "Just 1 month, please. I haven't received my first salary. I can't survive without food, please."
Do I look like I care about your existence? I have my son. You're just an unwanted duplicate. If you can't feed yourself at this age, then shame on you.
Shame on me? But you still feed Jonathan and you never complain. All I ask for is a month and I'll never bother you guys again. How dare you compare yourself with Jonathan? Just because you stole his face doesn't mean you're him, got it? He's the only one I consider my son, and I refuse to shoulder your responsibility. You're grown. Take care of yourself. It's strange how life can change so fast, so drastically, and yet, when you look back, every step seems like inevitable. My name is Jonathan, and I had a twin brother. Well, had, not because he died, but because he's no more in my life. I chased him out. Growing up, I was the star, the golden child, the genius, the apple of my parents' eyes. I saw how they adored me, looked at me with pride and admiration every time I brought home a perfect score or another certificate. To them, I was brilliant, a future doctor or engineer, someone with the promise of greatness. But my twin, Johnson, was just there, fading into the background.
Jonathan, you're going to do big things one day, aren't you? You're already making us so proud. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and us, your parents.
She'd say this right in front of Johnson, as if he wasn't even there. It was as if he were a shadow, something that was there, but didn't matter enough to be noticed. And Johnson, he'd just sit there, pretending he didn't hear, but his eyes always showed he was sad. I sometimes caught the way he clenched his fists, but he never said anything. He'd just swallow whatever pain or hurt he was feeling. It only got worse as we grew older. My dad was no different. To him, Johnson was just a disappointment, a reminder of everything average and unremarkable. "You're so clumsy, awkward, and dull. Why can't you be more like Jonathan?" That question soon became a chant in our house. And it wasn't like Johnson didn't try. He'd study late into the night, his textbooks spread out on his desk, his eyes red and tired. But no matter how hard he worked, he could never match my scores, never reach the bar that had been set for me. And eventually, I think he stopped trying altogether. For me, life was easy. I got whatever I wanted, new clothes, the best school supplies, the latest gadgets. And I knew that, as long as I kept my grades high, I could get away with anything. The first time I was reported for skipping school, my dad blamed the school for not making classes interesting for me. "He's a brilliant child. If your school wasn't bad, he'd never skip. If my child doesn't return home today from wherever your incompetence made him run off to, I'll report this school." When I came home late, reeking of cigarettes and sweat, they just brushed it off.
Boys will be boys.
They laughed and then patted me on the shoulder as if my behavior were just a phase. I took advantage of that freedom. I started running with a rough crowd, kids who knew how to bend the rules, and soon I was smoking, drinking, doing things my parents would have grounded anyone else for. But for me, they looked the other way, always assuming the best. After all, I was a genius. What harm could I do? But as I sank deeper into that world, my grades started slipping, but my reputation as the genius stayed intact. I began blackmailing teachers to scare them into compliance, making sure they kept my scores at the top. They were afraid of me, afraid of what I'd do if they crossed me. And my parents? They didn't suspect a thing. They kept showering me with praise, convinced I was still their perfect son. I was behind the gym at home one day, puffing on a cigarette, when I saw Johnson watching me. He had a horrified look in his eyes, and for a second, I thought he'd run and tell our parents. But instead, he just walked over to me and tried to talk to me, to reason with me. "Jonathan, you don't have to do this. It's dangerous and could damage your life. There's so much more you could be." I looked at him, that kid who was supposed to be my twin but felt like a stranger, and I felt a surge of anger. Who was he to lecture me, to tell me what I could and couldn't do? So I snapped. I beat him up, right there, until he was lying on the ground, bruised and bleeding. I told him to keep his mouth shut, or I'd make him regret it. When we got into the house, my parents didn't ask what happened, didn't even care enough to wonder why he looked so beat up. Their only concern was that I was safe, that their prized son had come home unharmed.
Jonathan, I'm so glad you're home. Let's order pizza to celebrate your last test score.
Later that night, I thought about it. I'd hurt my own brother, my own flesh and blood, and no one cared. In a way, it was thrilling, proof that I held all the power in our family. After that, my life continued spiraling. We were soon done with college, and my dad got me a car as a gift. Of course, Johnson received nothing, but he still didn't mind. Johnson immediately began applying for jobs. When he finally got one, my parents stopped feeding him.
Just 1 month, please. I haven't received my first salary. I can't survive without food, please.
Do I look like I care about your existence? I have my son. You're just an unwanted duplicate. If you can't feed yourself at this age, then shame on you.
Shame on me? But you still feed Jonathan and you never complain. All I ask for is a month and I'll never bother you guys again. How dare you compare yourself with Jonathan? Just because you stole his face doesn't mean you're him, got it? He's the only one I consider my son, and I refuse to shoulder your responsibility. You're grown. Take care of yourself.
I can't tell how he did it, but Johnson managed to survive the whole of the first month without my parents feeding him. Life after college was too boring. I didn't have a job, couldn't even get a stable girlfriend, so I moved on to heavier drugs, stronger drinks, and anything that my friends brought to drown my thoughts. Johnson stayed out of my way. He was just there, existing in the same house, but barely part of my world. He was hardly ever at home because his work required him to work late. I doubt my parents ever noticed that. They were too busy working hard to take care of my needs to notice someone they thought of as a nobody. But still, something about him bothered me. His silence, his calm acceptance of the unfairness, the way he never fought back. I hated him for it. I wanted him to react, to give me a reason to hate him more. So I started making his life miserable, little by little. I'd steal money from my parents and blame it on him, mess with his things, humiliate him every chance I got. I was relentless, testing the limits of his patience, waiting for him to snap. But he never did. He'd just take it, and that only made me angrier. Then one day, he was gone. He left a note, simple and to the point. He thanked our parents for bringing him into the world, but he said he couldn't stay in a place where he wasn't wanted. He was leaving, for good. When I showed the note to my parents, they barely reacted.
Good riddance. He was useless here anyways. I barely even remember his existence sometimes.
I also thought it was good that he left, but I soon realized that not seeing him regularly anymore was making me feel empty. So, I threw myself deeper into partying, drinking, smoking, anything that numbed the strange ache inside me. Then, I discovered gambling. It was thrilling at first, the high of the stakes, the rush of winning. But soon, it turned dark. I started losing, and as my debts piled, I switched gears. I gambled away my car, my phone, anything of value. Eventually, I even stole my parents' house documents, and I lost that too, in a single, disastrous bet. When my parents found out, they were devastated. My dad managed to get us a small apartment, but he was broken. For the first time, he looked at me with something other than pride. He begged me to stop, to change. He'd lost everything, and I was all he had left.
Jonathan, please. You're all we have left. Please change.
I promised I would, but promises were easy to break. I kept gambling, stealing, doing whatever I could to keep feeding the addiction that had taken over my life. One night, I gambled with the wrong people. When I couldn't pay them, they came after my parents. My parents paid the price for my mistakes. They died because of me. After that, everything went black. I took harder drugs, stopped eating, stopped caring. I roamed the streets until the government picked me up and placed me here, in this rehab center. One day, I was sitting in the common room when I saw Johnson, my twin, on the television screen. He was being interviewed as a writer and actor. He was famous, successful, everything I'd once thought I would be. The interviewer asked him about his family, and his response broke something inside me.
I don't have a family, I'm on my own.
And in that moment, everything hit me. All those years I'd spent tormenting him, trying to destroy him, it had all been for nothing. While I'd torn myself apart, trying to bring him down, he'd risen, using the pain I'd caused as fuel for his success. I sat there in tears. I destroyed myself, thinking I was destroying him. And now here I was, alone, a broken man with nothing left, watching my twin brother on the television, a man of success and dignity. I decided to write him a letter to ask for his forgiveness. I talked to the authorities at the rehab center, and they allowed me and even helped me post the letter to him. I expected a heartfelt response, him telling me he'd forgiven me and asking if we wanted our family back. I expected that. However, his reaction was far from that. It was short and shattered my heart. All he said as a response to my letter was, "Sorry, I don't know you." I cried that night like I'd never cried before. I'd lost him forever, no doubt. And I dared not even blame him. He deserved to be happy, and I deserved to pay for everything I did to him. He was my twin, and I should have been nicer to him. I should have stood by him when my parents were torturing him with their favoritism, but I never did. I was a bad brother, and he had every right to cut me off just like I did. I didn't try contacting him again. The next year, when I left the rehab center, I had to live in a very small apartment provided by the government for people like me. Do I regret everything I did? Absolutely. In fact, I would change it all if I had the power to turn back the clock. But that's impossible. Money was tight, and instead of getting a job, I turned to selling drugs. One early morning, I heard a loud bang as the police knocked down my door. They came in with dogs, searched my apartment, found the drugs, and I was locked up. Now, I have to live the rest of my life in prison, burdened with guilt over my parents' death and for separating my brother from our family. Yes, my parents played a huge part in what happened, but he didn't deserve any of it, and they didn't deserve to die. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.